They called her the Eye of Ra, the Lady of Flame, the Great Devourer. But beyond these titles lies a mystery far deeper than what mainstream mythology would have you believe. Sekhmet is often remembered as the lion-headed goddess of war and healing from ancient Egypt, a fearsome deity, draped in red, eyes blazing with the sun's fury. But what if she's more than that? What if Sekhmet isn't merely a figure of antiquity, but a living archetype, a cosmic force encoded within the soul of every spiritual seeker? She was not just worshipped, she was invoked, summoned through blood rites, sacred chants, and fire-lit ceremonies that blurred the veil between this world and the divine. And those who dared to call her name without understanding her nature often paid the price. You see, Sekhmet doesn't represent violence for its own sake. She represents purification. Her wrath is not destruction, it is transmutation. A sacred fire that devours illusion, burns away the ego, and leaves only truth behind. To meet her is to confront the rawest, most untamed part of yourself. This video is not just a retelling of myths. It is an initiation. A descent into one of the oldest and most misunderstood archetypes of divine feminine power. We will journey through the historical roots of Sekhmet, exploring the spiritual codes hidden in her mythos. We'll uncover why her image has been feared, misinterpreted, and buried for thousands of years. We'll decode the alchemical symbolism woven into her lore, symbols that speak to inner transformation, shadow integration, and the awakening of a force modern seekers have nearly forgotten. By the end of this video, you'll see why Sekhmet is re-emerging now, in a world ripe for spiritual reckoning. You'll learn how to work with her energy, not to control it, but to let it initiate you. Because to understand Sekhmet is to face your own fire. And every spiritualist, whether novice or adept, must eventually walk through it. Are you ready to remember? Long before the sand swallowed the temples, before Greek philosophers reinterpreted Egyptian mysteries through foreign tongues, there was Sekhmet. She emerged in the twilight of Egypt's spiritual genesis, her origins traced back to the earliest dynasties, perhaps even before recorded history. In the texts etched into the walls of Karnak, in the fading inscriptions of the pyramid texts and coffin texts, Sekhmet is named as the Eye of Ra, his wrath made manifest. But this was no mere mythological role. It was a metaphysical station, a position of cosmic responsibility. According to the ancient cosmology, when humanity grew arrogant and corrupted, Ra, the sun god and supreme creator, sent forth his eye, a divine emissary, to restore balance. That eye was Sekhmet. Not just a goddess, but a living force of divine retribution, whose presence restored Ma'at, the sacred order of the universe. She came not to punish, but to purify. Her rage was holy, like wildfire through a diseased forest. It burned not out of hatred, but to make room for new life. Her story did not end there. When her fury threatened to annihilate all of mankind, Ra tricked her by dyeing beer red to resemble blood. She drank deeply, became intoxicated, and fell asleep. When she awoke, she had transformed, from Sekhmet the destroyer into Hathor the nourisher. This duality is not simply narrative, it's alchemical. It reveals a core mystery, that within destruction lies healing. Within fire, rebirth. Sekhmet and Hathor were not opposites, they were two aspects of the same cosmic current. The priesthood of Sekhmet knew this well. They were not merely priests, they were initiates, trained in esoteric medicine, sound healing, and psychic warfare. In fact, some of the earliest medical papyri, such as the Ebers Papyrus, suggest that Sekhmet's priests were physicians, capable of channeling divine power to heal the body and spirit alike. These weren't superstitions, they were the remains of a spiritual science, now lost or diluted across millennia. Philosophically, Sekhmet's archetype speaks to the chaos that precedes clarity, the necessary pain before awakening. In the ancient Egyptian worldview, chaos, Isfet, and order, Mot, were not enemies but dance partners in a cosmic rhythm. Sekhmet, in her unrelenting power, was the rebalancer, bringing chaos to dissolve stagnation. And so, in her fury, we find a reflection of our own spiritual trials, the moments in life where everything seems to burn, only for us to rise from the ashes, purified, reborn. Yet over time, Sekhmet was softened, sanitized. Her image tamed into simple symbols of healing or warfare. Why? Because true power frightens. The systems of empire, be they political, religious, or social, have long sought to suppress or reinterpret the wild divine feminine. The same force that births worlds and topples tyrants. Sekhmet was too real, too primal, too uncontrollable. And so her fire was buried beneath layers of dogma and distraction. But the fire cannot be extinguished. Not truly. And now, in a time when the world teeters once more on the edge of collapse and transformation, her presence is rising again, not as myth, but as memory. Those who are ready to walk through the flame will find her waiting. She has never left. She was only sleeping. And now, she awakens in you. To truly understand Sekhmet is to move beyond the historical and into the archetypal. Her myth is not a relic, it is a map, a coded instruction, passed down through the ages, for those who dare to awaken the latent power within themselves. She is not just a deity to be worshipped, she is a mirror held up to the soul, daring you to look into your own chaos without flinching. Sekhmet represents the divine fire that exists at the core of every living being. It is the fire that compels the seed to break open, the soul to rise from inertia, the truth to pierce through illusion. In many mystical traditions, fire is the element of transformation. It consumes, yes, but it also refines. The alchemists called it calcination, the burning away of false identity, pride, attachment. In the tantric traditions of India, this same current is symbolized as Shakti, the raw, untamed energy that dissolves the ego and activates divine consciousness. In Sekhmet, this fire has a name. A face. A roar that echoes through the chambers of your hidden self. Her lioness head is not symbolic, it is instructive. The lioness in the wild does not hesitate. She hunts with precision. She protects her pride with unshakable ferocity. She is instinctual, present, and lethal in her grace. When Sekhmet arises within you, she demands the same, total presence. Brutal honesty. No more hiding behind spiritual platitudes or polite illusions. She comes for the parts of you that are no longer aligned, the false identities, the outdated patterns, the conditioned roles, and tears them down so your essence can emerge. In spiritual practice, this experience is known as the dark night of the soul. It is the inner collapse before the breakthrough. And in those moments, When everything falls apart, when your belief systems shatter and the ground vanishes beneath your feet, that is when Sekhmet enters. Not to punish you, but to initiate you. She does not destroy what you are, only what you are not. That is why she is feared. Because most people are not ready to lose their illusions. They are addicted to comfort, to certainty, to identity. But Sekhmet offers no such luxury. Her love is not tender, it is fierce. And yet, it is love all the same. The love that refuses to let you remain asleep. The love that tears you apart so you can be whole. Her myth, when viewed through esoteric eyes, is not just about the destruction of humanity, it is about the destruction of the lower self. The humanity within us that resists divinity. The ego that forgets its source. In that context, Sekhmet is the divine purge, the sacred rage that clears space for remembrance. This is why she is also associated with healing. In modern terms, we tend to separate healing from destruction, but in the ancient worldview, they were one and the same. You cannot heal what you are not willing to face. Sekhmet's fire brings the sickness to the surface. Not only physical ailments, but spiritual disease, denial, repression, fragmentation. She exposes them, scorches them, and then, only then, does she bring restoration. Temples dedicated to Sekhmet, such as the one at Karnak, were not places of fear, they were sanctuaries of transformation. Within her sanctum stood statues so powerful that priests would approach only during certain planetary alignments, reciting ancient mantras to activate her energy. These rites were not performances, they were sacred operations, psychological surgery, using vibration, intention, and divine force to awaken the sleeper within. And this awakening is not gentle. It is roaring. It is visceral. It strips you bare until all that remains is the soul, unclothed and unafraid. Sekhmet is the fire of consciousness made visible. She is what stands between the illusion of safety and the truth of freedom. She is the sacred challenge that asks, not, are you worthy, but, are you ready? Ready to die to who you were. So you can live as who you are. To journey deeper into the mystery of Sekhmet is to step willingly into paradox. She is not merely the destroyer of illusion, she is the illusion and its destruction. She exists at the threshold of opposites, the liminal space between death and rebirth, terror and ecstasy. And it is here, in this sacred in-between, that her true power is revealed. The ancient Egyptians knew this. They did not see Sekhmet as a violent goddess to be feared or placated. They saw her as necessary, vital, a cosmic regulator. In the same way the Nile would flood to renew the soil, Sekhmet would rise to renew the spiritual landscape of the world, and the soul. She was, in essence, a living embodiment of the sacred feminine in its most primal, untamed form. And herein lies a forgotten truth, that the divine feminine is not only nurturing, it is devastatingly powerful. Over the centuries, much of this power was domesticated. Sekhmet's image was softened, merged with Hathor or reduced to an angry goddess of war. But this was never her full story. Sekhmet is not simply anger. Her rage is informed, purposeful, aligned with cosmic justice. It is the sacred anger that arises when something violates truth, when systems of oppression grow too bloated, when souls stray too far from their essence. It is the roar of the lioness when her pride is threatened, not out of malice, but out of love. And yet, the same force that can burn a city to ash can also cauterize a wound. Sekhmet's fire, when met consciously, becomes medicine. In fact, she was invoked in rituals of exorcism, purification, and divine rebalancing. The priests of Sekhmet would use her name to banish disease, not just of the body, but of the mind and spirit. Her very presence was said to realign the inner architecture of a person, burning away spiritual parasites and energetic distortions. One of the most enigmatic aspects of Sekhmet is her dual nature with Hathor. Many believe they are separate goddesses, Hathor the joyful cow goddess of beauty and love, Sekhmet the fearsome lioness of destruction. But the ancients saw them as two sides of the same current. Sekhmet is what love looks like when it encounters injustice. Hathor is what love looks like when harmony prevails. In truth, one cannot exist without the other. This is the divine paradox: love is not always soft. Sometimes, love is a roar that shakes the heavens. Modern spiritual seekers often try to bypass this truth. There is a tendency to pursue only the light, peace, joy, abundance, while avoiding the shadows. But Sekhmet does not allow bypassing. She is the shadow, not the kind that hides in fear, but the shadow that confronts, that demands integration. She asks, "Where are you lying to yourself?" And then she proceeds to rip away the mask. It's no surprise, then, that Sekhmet has been feared, misrepresented, and even demonized. The forces of control, whether religious, cultural, or psychological, do not favor deities that awaken radical self-sovereignty. Sekhmet does not ask for obedience. She demands authenticity. She will not be worshipped through submission, but through transformation. There are stories, largely lost outside the initiatory temples, that speak of Sekhmet as a being of interdimensional origin. Some say she is a guardian of the threshold between the earthly and the astral. Her lioness visage, some suggest, was not symbolic, but literal, a representation of a race of leonine beings associated with Sirius, the star the ancient Egyptians revered as a celestial gateway. In this view, Sekhmet is not a myth, but a memory. A transmission from an age when gods walked beside humanity, and sacred power was taught, not hidden. Regardless of whether you see her as a mythological figure, an archetypal force, or an extraterrestrial intelligence, one truth remains constant: Sekhmet is a catalyst. She does not teach you in the traditional sense. She activates you. She pulls the latent power from your core, whether you're ready or not. And that is the blessing wrapped in the fire. Because in a world addicted to numbness, distraction, and denial, Sekhmet brings sensation, focus, and truth. In a society that profits from your disempowerment, she roars for your remembrance. And in the quiet after the burn, when the illusions fall like ash to the earth, she waits. Not with judgment, but with fierce compassion. Because she knows what you are. And she will not stop until you remember it, too. Imagine yourself at dawn, the world still hushed, as you light a single red candle to honor Sekhmet's fire. Feel the flame flicker, alive, unpredictable, and draw its light into your heart. Begin by sitting comfortably, spine straight, and placing your hands over your solar plexus. Close your eyes and inhale slowly for a count of 4, hold for 4, then exhale sharply for 6. This breath is your personal lion's roar, stoking the inner fire of presence. As you repeat it, visualize Sekhmet's blazing mane igniting within you, dissolving any tension or resistance in your body. Practice this for 5 to 10 minutes each morning to awaken the warrior healer in your own psyche. Next, engage in the Red Lioness journaling ritual. Take a fresh page and divide it into 2 columns. In the left, list patterns, fears, or self-limiting beliefs that have held you captive, whatever thoughts make you flinch. Be brutally honest, call them out by name. In the right column, write the transformative fire that you invite. I burn away my fear of failure, I transmute my doubt into creative courage, and so on. After writing, fold the page toward the left, symbolically consuming the old stories, and place it beneath your candle until the next full moon, allowing Sekhmet's medicine to work beneath the surface. Movement is a powerful way to embody Sekhmet's raw energy. Try a simple lioness flow, stand with feet hip-width apart, knees soft. Inhale as you sweep your arms overhead, imagining a rising sun of power. Exhale as you lower into a gentle squat and sweep your arms down and back, tailbone trailing, like a lioness stalking her prey. Repeat this 10 times, moving with the rhythm of your breath, allowing your gaze to soften and focus. This practice grounds you in your body, reawakening the instinctual strength you may have long ignored. Once a week, perform the Sekhmet invocation bath. Draw water infused with a handful of red clay or a few drops of ginger essential oil, both sacred to her. As you soak, recite a simple mantra, Sekhmet, Eye of Ra, ignite my truth. Burn away what no longer serves. Awaken my heart, fierce and whole. Let the warmth of the water and the scent of spice loosen old energetic blockages. Visualize impurities rising from your skin as dark smoke, dissipating into the vapor above. Integration is key. After working with fierce practices, you must also nurture the tender currents of your being. Spend 5 minutes in heart embers meditation. Place your right hand over your heart and your left on your belly. Breathe gently into this space, imagining a glowing ember resting in your chest. With each inhale, it grows brighter. With each exhale, it radiates warmth through your limbs. This balances Sekhmet's intensity with self-compassion and prevents spiritual burnout. Obstacles will arise, resistance in your mind, fatigue in your body, or fear that you're too much. When this happens, pause the more intense rituals and return to the breath. Remember, Sekhmet is not your enemy, she is your ally in transformation. Honor the pace that feels sustainable for you. Record your journey in a dedicated lioness grimoire, noting insights, dreams, and breakthroughs. Over time, you will map your own initiation. Group ritual can amplify your practice. If you have a circle of trusted seekers, gather under a full or new moon. Create a simple altar with a red cloth, a lioness image or statue, and offerings of pomegranate seeds. One by one, speak aloud an aspect of self you are releasing, then pass a bowl of water through the circle. Each person anoints the next, symbolizing collective purification and rebirth. Finally, bring Sekhmet's essence into daily life through small acts of conscious fierceness. Speak a difficult truth with compassion. Set a boundary you've long avoided. Offer kindness to someone in pain, not out of pity but from a place of empowered love. Each choice becomes a spark that reignites your inner lioness. Through these practices, breath, movement, ritual, reflection, and daily courage, you learn to wield Sekhmet's fire not as a weapon, but as a torch lighting your path. In the crucible of your practice, you discover that true power is not about domination, it is about sovereignty, authenticity, and the relentless pursuit of your own awakening. And so we arrive at the edge of the flame, where nothing remains but the pure ember of your own soul. Sekhmet's roar still echoes, a reminder that true transformation is never polite or predictable. It is wild, untamed, and utterly necessary. You have walked through her fire in thought and ritual. You have stared into the lioness's eyes and felt the burn of divine reckoning. Now comes the most profound moment of all, integration. Remember that Sekhmet is not a distant deity locked behind bronze doors. She lives in the beat of your heart, in the flash of insight that sears through complacency, in the unwavering courage that compels you to speak your truth. She beckons you to embody your authenticity, to carry her flame into every corner of your existence. When you face injustice, within yourself or the world, let her sacred anger guide you with clarity rather than cruelty. When you confront fear, call on her medicine to transmute doubt into faith. The path of the lioness is not one of blind destruction, but of conscious creation. It is a dance of death and rebirth, of letting go before you can receive, of honoring every tear as a drop in the river of your becoming. You are both the chalice and the fire. Sekhmet's story is not complete until you write the next chapter with your own hand. As you step back into daily life, carry these truths as your armor and your mirror. Notice where you shrink from discomfort, where you soften before challenges. Invite Sekhmet's presence with each courageous choice, whether it's setting a boundary, speaking a hidden truth, or simply refusing to settle for less than your highest expression. Let every act of fierce compassion be a testament to the power she ignites within you. Now, as you reflect on this journey, ask yourself, if you were to unleash your inner lioness today, what boundary would you draw? What truth would you speak? What new world would you begin to build? The fire is lit. The question awaits your answer. Roar with Sekhmet. Remember your power.